and welcome to Functional Skills English. For this week, we are kicking off with our 5 a day as we normally do, and then we will have a bit of a discussion as to what we are focusing on this week. So if you want to have a look at these questions, I suggest you pause the video now, give yourselves around 5 minutes to have a look through the questions and try and answer them. So if you'd like to, please pause now. And now if you're ready, we will go through the answers. So for question number 1, the correct spelling is the third one, discuss. That is the correct spelling for the word discuss. Question number 2, what is an opinion? So this is something we've talked about a bit before when we were focusing on writing. An opinion is someone's personal view or their belief about something. It might be a judgment they have made on a topic or person, but it is not rooted in fact. It is just a personal way of seeing things, and we can't prove it to be true. Question number 3. So another word for argument. Argument does have sort of more than one context. So if we think of argument as a fight or some kind of conflict, we might use words like disagreement, bicker or bickering, things like debate also spring to mind. But if we are using it in a slightly different way, when we are perhaps trying to get our point across, trying to get our opinion across to someone or to persuade them, we might back up what we are saying with an argument. We might use examples or evidence perhaps to really sort of show that we understand our point of view and that we know what we're talking about. So we might find arguments or reasons or evidence to back up what we are saying. Question number 4 then, ice cream is the best food ever. That is an opinion. We can't prove that to be true. And to be fair, I would disagree with that personally. I believe chocolate is the best food ever. But that is my opinion. Question number 5 then, a couple of different things going on here. It is persuasive language, but that is very, very broad. We need to drill down a little bit more into the technique that the writer is using. So there are, in fact, lots of different techniques or strategies a writer might use when they're trying to be persuasive. Some people have said that this is an example of bribery. And in a way, yes, it is. It is a way of sort of convincing someone to do something by bribing them to do it. But the key thing that we're looking for here is where we focus on those words you and your. So when a writer uses words such as you and your, it creates almost a sort of one-to-one kind of conversation feel to the writing. It's like the writer is trying to talk directly to you. Even though hundreds and thousands of people might be reading the same thing as you, it keeps that sort of personal, familiar kind of feeling and creates that relationship between the writer and the reader. And we call that direct address, or you might have heard of it as addressing the audience. So it's where we're talking directly to the audience, and it's very, very deliberate, as I said, to create that kind of personal feeling. So well done on the 5 a day there, guys. Let's just have a quick chat then and take stock of where we are. So last week we had our assessment point 1, where we had a go at those lovely writing assessments after all that hard work that you guys have been putting in all through the first term. So it's lovely to see what work is coming out of that at the moment. Unfortunately, we haven't finished marking and moderating all of them, and we do have to make sure that all the marks that are given are as fair as possible. So we are working together as a team to mark all of those and make sure that everyone is getting the marks they deserve for the work they've put in. Anyone that has not done their assessment from last week needs to try and get that done before Friday the 11th. Otherwise, you will not get a mark for this. But for those that have done their writing assessment, we are going to focus now this week and next week on speaking and listening. We didn't think that you wanted to start a new big topic such as reading just this side of the Christmas break, because anything that we did this week and next week, we'd forget, wouldn't we? By the time we came back in January, we'd have to start again from square one. So we're going to come back after the Christmas break and start focusing on your reading skills and really sort of honing those and getting them as good as they can be. But in the meantime, as I said, this week and next week, we are going to prepare for our speaking and listening assessments. The assessments themselves are not going to take place until March, so we have still got plenty of time to revisit this and to continue preparing for them. But we did want to introduce you to these topics as soon as possible. So that is the plan for today. Now, you're probably going to sit there and go, Gabby, I know how to speak. You are correct. I'm sure you do know how to speak, and I'm sure if we were in class together, you'd be chattering away to me and I'd know just what you're capable of. However, employers don't necessarily know that. And in the wider world of work, communication is key. It is perhaps one of the skills that you are going to use the most in your working and adult lives. So you might sit there and say, I don't really need English for my future job. And I'm sure I could give you plenty of examples where you do need it. And reading and writing would be essential there as well. But speaking and listening is perhaps the key, the sort of skill that you are going to be using the most. If you think about it, in a job role, you might have to work with other members of a team. So you would have to communicate effectively with them to make sure that you are doing your part and that they are doing their part. You might have to communicate with managers. If you are the manager, you might have to communicate with other employees that work for you. If you are, working facing customers, you're going to have to communicate with them, perhaps on the phone, perhaps face to face, or perhaps even in the current virtual world over things such as Zoom and Skype, like we do. So yeah, communication skills are something very highly prized by employers. Surprisingly enough, speaking, listening is something you do when you are applying for a job, not even when you're just, not just when you're in the job, but even on the run up to the job. So things like interviews and assessment days where you might be, reviewed by potential employers, they are going to look at how you communicate and how you get yourself across in a verbal way. So actually having a qualification such as functional skills that shows you have these skills is a really good thing to have. And again, not only are they good for getting a job in the first place, we just don't know what your future career is going to hold. Okay, as much as we would love to think we're going to stay in the same job for the rest of our lives, things do change. And even if you stay with the same company or business, you might move job roles, might move up into a different position. But as we know, the job market is, very varied at the moment. Things do change and move around all the time. And you might change routes. You might decide you've had enough and retrain and go in a different direction. And even then, you've still got this really valuable piece of paper, this qualification behind you that says, I've got communication skills. That's what functional skills does for you. So it is something that you can transfer into all sorts of job roles, into all sorts of different places in your everyday and working life. So you might not believe me, but speaking and listening is actually really, really important. We're just going to run through now very briefly what it is you are expected to do at the different levels, because we've got a mixture of levels across the college. At entry level 1, your speaking and listening assessments comprise of 2 tasks. The first task lasts around 5 minutes and it is a one-to-one activity with your tutor where you will ask some questions and follow some directions that you are given using a map, and you'll be tested on your ability to ask and answer questions. The second task for those at entry level 1 is a discussion task. This is with your tutor, and you will be talking about yourself. And you can prepare some notes for this, perhaps a mind map or some bullet points. And your tutor will talk to you and ask you some questions on things such as hobbies and interests, college and studying, jobs, family, your local area, that kind of thing. So you can also prepare some notes for this. At entry level 2, You will have an 8-minute first task with your tutor. Part of that will be, again, asking questions and answering questions and following directions using a map. And the second part of that first task is also showing that you can listen and retain information, because your tutor will read a short text to you and then discuss that text with you. So that is the first chunk, the first part for you. The second part at entry level 2 is a discussion, and this might be in a small group or it might be one-to-one with your tutor, depending on how many people there are in your class. And this will be about online safety. At entry level 3, again, there are 2 tasks. The first task is a talk, and this will comprise of 2 topics. So instead of giving you one topic that you've got to talk about for 4 to 5 minutes, you can talk about 2 smaller topics in that time. So 1 to 2 minutes per topic, and it's entirely up to you what you would like to talk about for those talks. But I have got some suggestions for you in a minute if you are stuck. The second task at entry 3 is a group discussion, and there will be around 3 to 4 of you in your group, and your topic is online safety. At level 1 and level 2, you're going to see some similarities here, guys. At level 1, your first task is a talk for around 3 to 4 minutes on one topic. Your second task at level 1 is a 10-minute formal group discussion between 3 to 5 people, and your topic is online safety. Level 2s, you will do a 4 to 5 minute talk presentation activity in groups of 3 to 4, and again, you have a choice of topic that you can do. Your second task will be a 15-minute formal group discussion, again in groups of 3 to 5 people. So where we have given timings for the group discussion, that is between all of the people involved. It's not 15 minutes per person involved. It's 15 minutes between the 3 to 5 people that are talking. So I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail about what we mean by these talks and what we mean by these group discussions. So when we're talking about the talk or presentation task, what will happen is the first person, you'll be in a group of around 3 to 4 people. The first person will give their talk on their chosen topic, and then the others will become their audience and ask them some questions at the end. And then they will rotate round, and the next person will go ahead and give their topic, their presentation. And when you were previously talking, you would have sat down and you will become an audience member and ask questions to the new presenter. And you'll take turns in your group until everyone has had their turn. And not only are you assessed on your ability to share information and ideas in your talk, but you are also assessed on whether you can ask questions and share, share in that group sort of audience as well. So some suggestions here for potential talk topics. Things like the environment and climate change is a good one, because there's so many sort of areas you could focus on. For instance, if you are particularly into cars, you could look at things like hybrid and electric cars in this area. Or if you are, an animal lover, you might want to look at how it's affecting animals in particular, and how plant-based diets might help save the animals and things. Another topic you could consider is coronavirus and how it has affected studying. This is something that has perhaps impacted everybody in different ways. So you could potentially look at, the impact and how it's affecting people. And I'm sure you can find plenty of facts and statistics about coronavirus to support what you want to say. But if neither of those tickle your fancy, you can go for a topic of your choice. Some other topics that were suggested were things like, for entry 3, you could talk about things like your favourite subject at school and why it was your favourite subject. You could talk about your pet. You could talk about, your interests and your hobbies. For instance, I've got some students that are going to talk about things like gaming. and remote control car racing and things like this. It's entirely up to you. If you've got an area of expertise, if there's something that you've researched before, that you've given talks or presentations on before, you can use that. It is quite flexible, but please check your topic choice with your tutor. We need to keep it appropriate, obviously. You can prepare notes and even a presentation at level 2 if you want to for this part. And you will present to a small group of 3 to 5 people. It is something that we're going to focus on a little bit further down the line. We are going to focus more on the group discussions today, but I did want you to be aware of this task and to start thinking about your topics. So let's talk a little bit more about the group discussion then. So the group discussion is for all levels from entry 2 up to level 2. It is about internet and online safety. So this is something that you probably already have a bit of knowledge about. You've probably already encountered some of the topics that come into this broad subject already. But it is a formal discussion, so it's not just about your opinions. You need to be researching this topic and finding out facts and statistics about what is going on. You need to be able to give opinions and ideas on this topic. You need to be able to share information that you have found, so any facts or statistics with the others. I also suggest that you ask some questions, or at least when you prepare your notes, that you write down some potential questions that you could ask to the group as well. It will help you if you get stuck in the discussion. You can think of something to say. You can look at your questions in your notes and say, I have a question, ask it to the group, and it will help to get the conversation going again. For both tasks, as I said, you can write notes, and we do actually use these notes as evidence that we submit to the exam board of how you did and how you performed. So it is essential that we do create some notes on this topic. And to help you, I have in fact created a prompt sheet, if it wants to work, of course, on this topic of online safety for you. And this is available in the Learn folder just alongside this presentation. So this is your starting point. This is what you're going to focus on today. You are going to research the topic of online safety. You need to open up a new Word document or on your notebooks if you can access your notebook from where you are. And you need to create a page called discussion notes. These are things to get you thinking about, online safety. I've written some questions here that you can see on the screen. You can start off by sort of almost answering these to sort of gauge and get an idea of what you feel and how where your opinions are on this topic. You'll notice where I put share examples and ideas. This is a good point to go off and research further. So, for instance, what problems, issues, or dangers can occur online? Well, there's lots of different things that could be going on. And I'm sure you can find some facts and statistics about these dangers and issues and how often they are occurring and how many people they are affecting. A little bit further down in this document, I have given you some of these subtopics just to sort of help you and guide you a little bit. So some examples, things like online bullying or cyberbullying, fraud and hacking, online gaming and abuse that goes on there. There's all sorts of things that could be dangerous potentially for people to be accessing, whether you're a child, an adult, or a young person. All of these things could potentially be dangerous. So it might be worth looking into some of these. You don't have to research every single one. Maybe pick 2 or 3 to really focus on and find facts and statistics about. If you are getting very stuck, I have also put a link here to an online Padlet. So when you click on this link, it will take you to a website called a Padlet. And this is like an online pin board. And on this pin board, I have collated and put together a whole range of different websites and articles and different bits of information that could really help you with this topic. And at the end of the document, I've also prompted you here, reminded you to come up with 3 questions that you could potentially ask your group. Okay, so this is what you're going to focus on today. Let's just go to this website and show you. Oh no, it's not going to behave. There we go. It's just going to take a moment, guys, to try and show you the websites. So that is where you need to go for now, is to open up the online safety prompts in the Learn folder and use that page to start prompting your research. And as I say, you can come to this pin board here, click on any of these articles or websites to help you with further research and to find some facts and statistics. But you can go to other websites as well if you would like to. And when you are done with that, I would like you to just take a moment at the end of your page where you've been writing your discussion notes, or at the end of your notebook page. I want you to reflect a little bit and think about one thing that you think would help you to prepare for your speaking and listening. Okay, if there's certain things that are concerning you or worrying you about doing the speaking and listening assessments, let your tutors know so that we can actually work with you and adapt it as best we can in order to help you get through this assessment, because I know some people do worry about it. And that's everything for today. Next week, we are going to come back and focus a little bit more on the talks and the presentation side of things, but we will continue to prepare for speaking and listening. So thank you very much, everybody. And if you've got any questions, don't forget to email your tutors or message them on Learn.